girl was physically healthy. She was running around, playing with her sisters, eating by herself, talking, expressing herself like an 18-month-old child would, until one day she was convulsing, something that is fairly common, but the hospital where she was treated in Nigeria administered her wrong medication, which led to her falling into a coma, and because of how she was cared for in coma, she woke up brain damaged. So they had to move to the UK for better care. It's been 14 years of a life-changing experience for Abigail and her family. In today's episode of Invisible Nigerians, People with Disabilities, I have the privilege of speaking with Abigail's mom, Olufunke Abidemi Adeloye, founder of Oak Consult, a non-profit that equips parent caregivers for them to live purposeful and fulfilled life despite the challenges of raising children with disabilities. Although I want you to watch the whole video, but I know it's long, so I've divided it into chapters so that you can fast forward to whatever interests you. Thanks for watching.
April 11th, 2010. We were just 6 years in marriage. We had 3 daughters. The youngest was 18 months. There were no issues at birth at all. And she was growing like any other typical child. We saw a couple of delays here and there. Some milestones we were missing. When a child is supposed to do something between, 3 to 6 months, she will get there like 6 months or the 7th month. Even though I was raising some of those concerns, there wasn't any investigation done. It was just like, anxiety of a mother until that day. She just, woke up crying. Then we thought, okay, maybe we were treating malaria, or she felt a bit warm. Let's get some things. Long and short, she just went very rigid, turned her face to the left side. Suddenly, from nowhere, she just convulsed. She was just foaming. I didn't know what it was. We rushed her to the hospital, the same hospital where she was given birth to. And we were told, that was convulsion. And so they wanted to step something down. They said to us they were supposed to use something that is a dose of the for babies, but for pediatrics, but they didn't have that. They were going to use something for adults, but they were going to reduce the dose. We didn't know any better. So, use whatever, just make sure she comes out of this, that was what they did. Whatever it was, whether it was the dose that wasn't the right thing or whatever it had gone wrong, but my daughter didn't come round. We waited it out. By the second day, of course, what's going on? Tell us. Oh, we're checking something and she's not responding. We moved her from that hospital because by then, we've lost faith in that particular hospital. We moved her from that hospital to another big hospital, and that was where she was for about 3 weeks. Well, that was where we were told, first of all, that she has gone into coma, and then we started the treatment. Unfortunately, the way my daughter was treated for about 1.5 weeks when she was in coma in that hospital, further complicated things and led to brain damage. We didn't know what we were dealing with. We still didn't get any diagnosis or anything other than just different, speculations and stuff, until we flew her to the UK for further treatments when she came round. We brought with us some of the films and all the x-rays and, CT scans, MRI, all those things. And they sat on that. And from the first day, they said, madam, sorry, we don't have good news. Because even when we were going, we thought, we're just going to get there, pop a pill, one of the best hospitals in the world for children, and all those things, pop a pill and come back home and life continues. And we said, no, we don't have good news. What we were told was, okay, this is damaged, that is damaged, that is damaged. Long and short, she's brain damaged. And you don't have the child that you used to know now. What you now need to learn is how to live with the child that you now have. Which was just like, what are you talking about? I think the first thing they said was, first of all, what they needed to do was to stop her from taking anything orally, that she was not going to be able to eat like she used to before. So that they were going to do an operation and put a peg, what they said then, gastrostomy peg in our tummy. And that was where she will be feeding through. What we have generally for my daughter as on our diagnosis is cerebral palsy. And cerebral palsy has what they call gross motor function classification system that goes from levels 1 to 5. So level 1, is mild. Level 2, you could still do some things and you still have some abilities. My daughter is on level 5. as a result of whatever it was that was done in my beloved country, the medical mismanagement. And I can talk of global developmental delay, scoliosis, epilepsy, all those different things. But what it means in plain English is that my daughter has not been able to, she's non-verbal, she's not able to talk like you and I. She's not able to feed through her, through the mouth. She feeds through a peg. She's dependent on oxygen 24/7, oxygen support 24/7. She's living on partially functioning lungs because she's got what they call scoliosis. You and I, we're able to stand upright, our spinal cord is straight. Her spinal cord has degenerated over time as a result of all the different conditions that she has. And so she's like a C. Her spinal cord has curved so much. So she's resting on her lungs, impacting our ability to breathe. Knowing what we know now, all she needed was, to come out of that convulsion, step it down, and then they will have treated whatever it was with common antibiotics. Adiola, common antibiotics, because it was not meningitis, it was not nothing else. Now we're unpacking a couple of things more because some of the things I've been complaining about, what the author have been done from the beginning could have been to look a little bit, into that. What was going on here? Why are we having this delay? Why is she not reaching this milestone there? But that was missed. Even though I was complaining, I was mentioning and raising them, all that was missed. By the time we got to the hospital and we out of convulsion, children have convulsions. So, it shouldn't lead to brain damage. But what aggravated things was by the time she slipped into coma and she was in this one big hospital, they placed an oxygen mask on my daughter's face. For a long time, we didn't know what it was until about 2 years afterwards. How could a child that could do everything just turn to a child that has brain damage? How? But it was then, looking back, some of the photos that I took there, that I realized that, oh, wow, this was what happened to my daughter. When I realized that day I was alone, I shouted, I screamed, because then I've seen differences in treatment. Because the understanding we had was when she was in coma, obviously, that was an 18-month-old child. There was no way she could have been able to breathe the oxygen support that was given to her by herself. So she ought to have been placed on a ventilator so that bypasses everything breathing, and that could still be passing oxygen to her brain. That was not done. For about 1.5 weeks, she was lying down there with an oxygen mask attached to a cylinder. So she lacked oxygen to her brain for all the period she was in the hospital. That was what led to her brain damage.
I'm so sorry.
Oh no, okay.
Some people watching would say, did you sue the hospital?
Oh well, and a lot of people were so angry, at that time, and lots of advice and all that were coming. And honestly, it wasn't something that wasn't considered. But I said then, I said we had X amount of energy. Okay? We had X amount of energy. So what you're going to spend that energy on is dependent on you, your choice. Whether you're going to spend the X amount of energy on fighting your system that is the way it is, and we won't go there, or you're going to use that X amount of energy to care for the life that has been given to you by God. That was so we chose to, you know what? We don't have we can't begin to unpack. Where do you begin? Where do you start? Even though we had all the evidence with photos, with medical reports and things written down
So,
all.
but did you at least let them understand what they did wrong just
so
so that doesn't
so
happen to another family?
That was exactly what I did when I went back. So we brought her back home quite all right. After about 3 months, knowing a little bit of what we will be dealing with, we brought her back home. And so when I came back, I said, I wanted to see this hospital. It's just for another child. Can they please pay attention and just to do something a little bit differently? So I came back. We had and it was all, oh, we're sorry, we failed you. And that was all. There wasn't even not up until today. There's not been one call to say that child that you took away from us. So how is your child now? No, no, not until now.
How has your life changed since then?
Oh dear. While you would think, oh, it was a child, just one child that's affected by, this issue, it, it's not just even the immediate family. It dovetail on every aspect of life, as well as extended family. I mean, because that was what led to in seeking opportunities for her to live. There was no other way by which you would have been able to take care of her back in my country. There was just no other way. What we had to do was to uproot the whole family. My first daughter was 5, my middle one was 3, and then Abigail. So we literally all the way came to follow this one child.
How was it like caring for her in Nigeria versus caring for her in the UK?
It's incomparable, obviously. Of course, number one, the peg that she has in her tummy now. By the time my organization then bless them went to find out from another wonderful dietitian in my country, what they told them was, oh, that's just one of those things. Now they will just give them mogi and eja shower. That was just one element, not to talk of the physio, that she's supposed to be having, the kind of support. Here in the UK, my daughter sees about 16 different consultants, and that's on the medical aspect of things, because the system here is robust, like you would know. When you're dealing with any child with disability, you look at the education, because they still have facility and provision for education, the medical and the social care aspect of things. So you're looking at those three different dimensions, so it's multidimensional. In my country, there's no provision at all. Not to, you're not even talking what is multidimensional, what is education. You're on your own. By the time we began to then see all the different things we might even be able to get to be able to support my daughter, we were going to be spending not less than about 2.5 million naira monthly
And this was 14 years
in
ago.
Nigeria 14 years ago. Not to talk of the fact that the competence and even the medical facilities that she needs are not even available. We were discharged with cod liver oil, paracetamol. Gosh, my doctor,
Paracetamol.
with cod liver oil, the seven seas, that one that smells like fish. The other side of that is here in the UK, it could be lonely. It is lonely because all the support you might have at home for the extended family. My mother-in-law literally just moved away from her house and came to stay with me. There's no family here. We came literally in an isolated area, beginning to learn everything all over. Life, the way we knew it, stopped. And then you're dealing with little children. So all those things are coming into play. Emotion, no friends. When you hit issues of disability, life changes. Is a three, it's in every dimension of it.
Do you mind telling us the resources you have for other parents, and if you can just speak to encourage them in how they are caring for their children?
When you look at the social construct where we are coming from, the culture, the stereotype, it looks like a death sentence when you have a child that is not perceived as normal. What is supposed to be is typical. That is the correct nomenclature, but we will say normal. This child is not normal. So when you have a child that is perceived as not normal, the first thing you want to do is to hide it in the first place. How did this one come to? How did it get to me? Because you don't even want to identify with that at all. Where there are no answers coming, you want a quick fix so that life can move on. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen that way. I am a firm believer in Jesus, so I know miracle happens, but I know it doesn't happen in all things all the time in that way that we always believe and want it. So you need to live with this child. You need to care for this child. You need to, and indeed, your life might actually, lots of parent carers' lives comes to a halt. And which was one thing I also experienced for a while, because this thing is in phases. Well, what I'm saying right now, I probably might not be able to say this way 14 years ago, or 13 years ago, or 12 years ago. It takes a journey. If you're listening to me and you're a parent carer, please know that we are a tribe. You are not alone. The statistics says that we have about 1 billion people all over the world who has a form of disability or the other. That is massive. That feeling of isolation, that feeling of nobody gets this. You're mourning for different things in different cycles. You're mourning for the child that you've lost or you thought you were going to have that you now don't have. You're now beginning to learn about how to care for this child. And where there is no support, it becomes so complicated. Relationship breakdown, sibling rivalry, all these things happen and fetters that you lose friends because nobody wants to associate with somebody who is not successful or who is not able to take care of their child. Don't put your child behind the doors. Don't. They have a right to leave. Now, I know that is a big thing for us, but please understand that you're not alone. And the guilt, please let go of it. All these things are emotions. It's an emotional roller coaster. And it is tough. It's not your fault. Maybe something I did when I was pregnant, or something I didn't do, or somebody followed me from my father's house, or my mother-in-law did not greet me properly. Maybe that was what. No, please. When it comes to this child that has a disability, you as a mother, you as a father, please, it is not your fault. Because if you're not able to deal with some of these things, you will not even be able to look at this child and see a person. This child is a human being made in God's image. Is just different.
For some parents, though, they will be concerned about what people will say if I let people know that I have a child that has special needs. What do you have to say to them?
First of all is the fact that you can't stop people from saying anything. People will talk. Even if you have a typical child, people will still talk. So that you cannot stop what people will say. So you need to be at peace. That's why there is a need for you to be at peace with the situation and with your child. The way you see your child, the way you see the situation you're in. If you're seen as a chore, then you will crumble under the weight of it. But if you're seeing it as a mission, that, okay, so this is a child that is a human being, has a right to live, also has a vast potentials. What are the things about this child that I need to learn? How do I begin to take care of this child? Then we begin to change our orientation. So awareness is key.
Could you say briefly what religious organizations, for example, can learn, especially based on your experience when you went to Nigeria?
Whether you're a pastor, whether you're an imam, all our religious heads, you have a big platform to begin to raise awareness so that people that are sitting under your watch will begin to understand that the way you're treating every other person is the way you should treat somebody else who has a disability. So that we take away this pride, this deliverance is the only thing we would do for this child, where we're not seeing them as an object of deliverance or an object of expansion of our church and all that, and see the capacity of what I can do. Then we're looking at them as an object of pity, an object of benevolence, so that and all those things. We need to come out of all that and open our eyes. The disability community, we are seen as the hidden people, not just in the world. Now, if I drill it down again to Christianity, only 5% are reached effectively by the gospel. And we have some of them lined up by the door of the church. We have some of them lined up by the door of the mosque. But we just walk past them, we drop coins for them, and we go. Everybody that is living, that has a breath, in whatever shape or form they are made in God's image.
Can we talk about inclusion?
Inclusion, get closer and ask questions. Please, when you go to these families, when you invite them, go in the spirit of trying to understand how to support them. And honestly, that will take a while. Little adjustments in our churches, little adjustments in our different places of religion activities, in our schools. Can somebody who has a wheelchair come into your church easily? How is your gate man reacting to people? How are the ushers welcoming people? If the child who has autism comes into the church, will this child be able to sit down with their mom, and if it's not able to sit down and likely want to do move around, can they move around without somebody throwing them out of the church? And our parents carers, if we and our families, if we can please know that we also have a seat, we belong. There's nowhere we don't take my daughter to. And you'll be shocked that even here in the UK, some of our churches that are here in the UK, Nigerian church particularly, here, the same thing they're doing back. So it's not even a case of the environment where you're in. We find that it's also difficult to take my child. There some of people will be doing like this when you take a child in there, but we go anyway.
And if anybody is watching this, please learn to have normal conversations with parents of children that have special needs. Don't see them every time and say, "Don't worry, miracle will happen."
Miracle, yes, or it is well. That's another thing that we do. Just say, oh, it is well. No, no, no. Ask question. Adiola, how are you doing? Is the first question. How are
Hmm.
you doing? That's the first question. You might be surprised that just that question might
Hmm.
make some people. How are you doing? And you ask from a place of genuineness, not from a place of
Hmm.
gossip. That simple question is loaded. What kind of support do you have? How can we
Hmm.
support
How
you?
can I help?
How can
Yeah.
I help? If it is to get, do you, okay, I can't stay with your child, but I can go to the shop and get you something.
Hmm. What do
I
you
can't stay
need?
with your child. I don't know how to do. I'm afraid, and I don't know how to care for this child. But do you washed your? Do you have clothes to wash? Do you have laundry? Do you have something you need to do? Because no, understand that we apart from as a parent carer, you do everything else that you still need to do, plus caring for this child. If they could only have 30 minutes for themselves and they don't need to run around this child if somebody else could just watch, come close, watch, ask questions. We need you, we need your support. We only need to pay attention. That worker that is coming late to church, you only need to ask deeply why they're coming late. And they might be able to tell you that it's because their child just had epilepsy and they're not able to bring that child out. Instead of you to punish them and say they come late, they come late to church. These are the things we're seeing.
You make videos for parents. I want them to be able to find you on YouTube.
In your child, their spirits are not disabled. There's no disability with the spirit of your child. It is the body that we see, it is a form that we see that is weak or that is weary or that is broken. The spirit on the inside of your child, and that is indeed your child, that spirit has no disability.
And I also know that you have a project that you're working on in Nigeria to help more families. So, can you tell us a little bit how people can find you and the projects that you're working on?
The project we're working on is what we call Oak Center. Fortunately, we have just been offered, a community has just offered, a land, the sort of land that we're looking for in Oyo State to be able to, build this facility. It is a facility where we'll be able to have health care for a child, as well as residential placement, and as well as facility where we'll be able to teach the parent carers how to begin to see their child, how to begin to, orientate their lives. We have therapy, we have all these different things that we see here. We want to literally copy and paste in our own society. And the focus that is driving that is so that we can teach our community, we can build a community that will begin to see the dignity of life, whether you have disability or not. And again, so that another family will not need to up their life and go and face all the different things that my own family have gone through in this past 14 years. It's a facility that will be able to take 250 children with complex medical needs at a go in residential placement, and then we break it down in that way. We have a lot of information on this, and that takes me to our website, on www oconsults.org. We're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, and all the other social media handles. And our YouTube channel is the Praying Carer channel. Please don't think, oh, because I'm not a Christian, I cannot pray. Prayer is talking to God. And if you want to hear it real, okay, go on the Praying Carer channel to hear the kind of prayers we're praying. We're not praying. I believe in deliverance, I believe in healing, but that is not the kind of prayer. Those are not the kind of prayers, because we pray that, but much more we pray about how to build yourself, how to help you, and we get other parent carers that we bring on the channel to also learn from them, to be blessed. Is a community. I try to shift people away from talking about their own children. I want to hear about you, because it's, for me, I know that is when you're well as a parent carer, that is when you'll be able to care and care well for the other life that has been given to you, or the children. We have training program for churches as well on how to be inclusive, how to raise awareness. So please invite me to your mosque. And I will do everything to ensure that I conform. But just know that I will talk about what God is saying about people with disability in the way that, is human.
I really look forward to meeting Abigail someday. I really do. So
You
yeah.
will love to meet her.
Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. If you didn't watch our intro video, please make sure that you do that. I put the link in the description so you have a better understanding of why we're doing this series. Alright, y'all, it's Miro and I'm keeping it right up in here. Don't forget to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And if you're yet to subscribe to my channel, I'm watching you on Plasma TV. Press the subscribe button and the bell button. Until next time, I'm going to see you all later. Peace out.